The stock pot, you can either go to a fancy store and spend $150 on a stock pot, or you can do what I did and get a cheap stock pot for as little as $20, really. And I went for volume and the lid, and I'm very happy with it. It's my weekly friend. Yeah. Nothing more exciting than watching onions saute. Stewed with seasoning or spices, or you just get them diced and in a can. You can also use fresh tomatoes, that's just fine, but we're talking about making things easy and accessible. So this is definitely easy and accessible. When you're adding these guys and the kidney and the brown beans, the entire contents of the can. Water, don't try and strain it or anything. And then we recycle everything. Now the brown beans has tomato sauce and has sugar. This is about where most of your sugar content comes into this recipe. Tough, really? This really helps make it sweet. The other thing that we add that really changes the flavor, makes it a little bit more exciting, is we add raisins. And the raisins add, again, some natural sugars to the recipe, but really change the impact of it. It's a fairly spicy recipe, but that helps give it some balance.
Don't always be afraid of sugars. You need carbohydrates to make the brain work. So it's alright to have some.
Now the cool thing is, we'll talk about the price of this recipe towards the end, but if you're in a house and there's about 4 or 5 of you, it doesn't take much to throw into the ingredients. Everybody kick in a few dollars, put this together, cook up for an hour or two on a Sunday morning, and then everybody can either have a very big meal or can jar it up and take it away, collectively. So it's a good type of thing to do when you've got a bunch of roommates. All right, let's get the other veggies in there. We'll soften them up a little bit before we start adding the canned ingredients. I always hold my garlic off till a little bit later, because when I saute the garlic, it's so delicate. It can just dry up and become hard and flavorless really quickly, so I don't put it in with the onions. This is the high-tech approach to cooking here.
And again, with cans of food like this, although you can get them at any grocery store, if you're struggling and you can't afford to, lots of the food banks will have beans and tomatoes.
Now there's a food bank at Sadler House, right?
Yes, that's right. In the basement of Sadler House, there's the food cupboard, and that's open to anyone who needs it, students in the community.
Okay. Is there any limit to that, or any qualification?
I believe you can take 1 bag.
And this is going to be a big batch, especially once we add our red beans in here. Come on. And I think we may end up having to add a little bit of water back into this. I've drained the beans after soaking and boiling. There you go. Wow, that's huge. And here's why we need to have a great, sturdy stirring utensil. I don't even know what you'd call this, but it's shaped well to use with a wok, and it helps turn things. Okay. Cool thing is you can be kind of casual with your amounts, but I generally go with about 1.5 cups of raisins in this size. Now it may end up coming off a little bit dry with all those beans, so we'll add our vinegar and we'll see what it ends up looking like. See if we want to add any more liquids into there. There, that's looking nice. That's pretty good. Yeah. Now, we also now start adding some spices, and this is largely to taste. I try to keep my portions easy to remember. So I put in 2 tablespoons of a bunch of things. So 2 tablespoons of basil. I'm a bit of a jar fan. 1. 2 tablespoons of basil. This one is definitely to taste, but I like 2 tablespoons of chili powder, and then I sneak in a bunch more later.
Does the chili powder make it spicy?
That, and I add some Tabasco. You could go to a cayenne to kick it up, but I like the flavor of the Tabasco, which is like an actual pepper sauce. And 2 tablespoons of oregano. You can see I'm super careful. Now it calls for black pepper, but perhaps not as much. It's 2 tablespoons, like maybe just 1 tablespoon. And then see what we can do to mix all that down. Sometimes it takes a little while to build up your stock, but if you do a little bit at a time, you find you've got a pretty well-stocked kitchen. Yeah, I'm liking the liquid content on that one. I don't think I feel like I want to add any water to it, because I like a hearty. The one thing that it says in the recipe is you want to throw in a bay leaf. I never do a bay leaf. Really? Just 1? They're cheap. Now, we don't want to eat them, apparently, when they come out.
Why don't you want to eat them?
I'm not sure. It's just what Grandma says. Don't eat the bay leaf.
I always thought it was just because it was offensive to you myself, but I don't know.
I heard that they actually cut your stomach.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, that's what my brother said.
All right, well, let's go with that. Don't eat the bay leaf. It will cut your stomach. Hurt you on the way through. Now, we can, I think, pretty much have everything in there that we want to have in. Here's the Tabasco, and you can basically add to taste. In my household, I end up going fairly mild, and then I add to my own. This is pretty mild. It's a big batch, right? So you can, that was a mild little dosage. Give that a stir, and you just keep this on, covered, monitor it every now and again. You know, it's edible right now, but you want to let it simmer, not really low boil because it's there's not enough liquid in there to low boil, but you want to keep it sort of simmering and stewing for at least an hour before you start jarring it up or before you start serving it. And if you can go a little bit longer than that, just keeping it from burning to the bottom, then and checking the liquid level, and if it seems to be drying out, you can add just a little bit of water. The longer you go, the more the flavors all integrate and becomes just tastier. And yet it's the type of meal that after the first and second and third time, it actually just comes off tasting a little bit nicer. So that guy is ready just to be covered up and left to